and months and months. What are we going to make of this? Well, at its worst, what's it like in the Trinity? We have, the Father, and the Father apparently is very holy, and anything that isn't holy needs to be destroyed, and that means us. But instead, this God just loves us so much that God sent the Son, separate entity, and made that Son suffer, be tortured, and die to satisfy, I don't know what, bloodlust? Not exactly clear. Well, if you look at them as separate entities, it's really a problem. In fact, it's disgusting. Okay? But if you recognize that both of those entities are not two, they're the same thing. Well, now the story looks a little different, because what we have here is God giving God's life to allow us to become more complete and more whole. That's what the doctrine of the Trinity is about. It's about God giving God's life, God reaching out with God's creative love, and enveloping us and drawing us into that very same dance and communion that makes us all one. That's what it's about. It's about our participating in the life of God, every one of us. That's what gives it the value, participating in the life of God, always seeking a way to love that which is around us. And that love is not a gushy, sweet love. It's a kind of love that seeks to create at every moment something that is more valuable, something that is more whole. Is this sounding familiar? That's what God seeks to do. That's what God seeks to do with us. And so we look at the world and look at our actions in that way, and instead of focusing on ourselves, what we need, what we want, how we can make things right, we focus on pouring God's life into the world, not afraid of what that might mean would happen to us. Worthy is the Lamb to open the seals and bring about God's way and power. It's a question of trust, participating in the life of God, pouring out God's love through us, and not being afraid. What about those characters in the movie? How about the senator? So afraid of losing power that he's willing to make the whole world around him afraid. Use it in order to build up his own power, to try and at least make things right in his own life, maybe impose order on the world around him. How about the reporter? She seems afraid. In fact, what happens, though she's looking for truth, she never has the resolve to print what she knows is true. Instead, you know what happens? It's just a tiny little story that there's this new strategy that they're putting forward, and it's right at the bottom of the screen on the TV, while the important story, something about a celebrity having a car accident, is what's on the main screen, and that's what our young man, cynical and removed, is watching. He's afraid too. Afraid to take a stand, afraid to make a difference, afraid to move forward. Unwilling to let the life of God unfold within him. Now, how about our two soldiers? They're not afraid. Turns out they're not afraid. These two men have put themselves in a position where their lives are indeed at risk, and they have done so because they sought to put value in the world, because they felt, right or wrong, they felt that it was the right thing to be able to increase the freedom and the beauty of this world. They took a stand. They were not afraid. They did, in fact, die in this movie. There was sort of an irony in that, though. Our senator quoted a general from World War I who said he had never seen such lions led by such lambs. By which, of course, he meant that the soldiers were lions, the ones with the power. And those that sat back in Washington in the air-conditioned offices, well, those would be the lamb. The irony here is that the lions, the ones with the true strength, the ones able to stand with resolve and seek the better thing by putting their lives on the line, those ones turned out to be the slain lambs. It's the power of God. It's how we understood the Trinity initially, you know. I'm not making this up. Revelation of John says it. The Apostle Paul says it. Gospel of Mark certainly says it. You know, take up your cross and follow me, said Jesus, that nice, sweet, ethical Jesus. He meant it. You put your life on the line because you understand, trust, and believe. You find it worth it because God's unfolding power can make things right through death into new life. That's what we reach for. You know, for 2,000 years, the Christian church has been trying to redefine the word Lord. It used to mean Caesar, that kind of political power, right? But we try, through the doctrine of the Trinity, this perichoesis, this participating in the life and the power and the love of God. We try to define Lord in that way, that's really the power that's involved in the universe. But you know what? 2,000 years, we have utterly failed at redefining that word. I really think we need to pick a new one. I mean, I'm usually the guy that wants to rehabilitate a word, but my goodness gracious, after all these years, I think we should give up and pick a different word. Worthy is the Lamb. Worthy is the Lamb. And, you know, when we don't get it, when we instead look at the Lord in the heavens and say, fix this, that kind of lion power, we lose our power as a church. Do you suppose that's why things are beginning to falter for the church? We've lost track of the kind of power that we understand in the Trinity, lost track of the participation in the life and the love of God. There have been various times in history when people have understood that. There's been renewal and the church has grown. Took place with the peasants around the time of the Reformation. It took place with the slaves in the South. It took place with the peasants in South America during the liberation theology movement. It happens. It happens, and when it does, what we're able to see is something new and beautiful coming out of that which was old, tired, and oppressive. We make matters worse when we seek to dominate rather than participate in the life of God. It is our job to redefine this image, to spread the news that the real power that makes things right is the power that moves from death to life, the power that moves from that which is ugly to that which is beautiful. And when we do that, as we do that, what we will find is we will see that the struggle and the suffering and the difficulty that we move through leads us, in fact, to the next beautiful thing. Because that's what it means to participate in the life of our